Keservesen fölneveltünk anyáddal, keservesen, mind a hármatokat. Gyárból, maszekhoz, éjjel a kénysavgyárba.
Godard was famous for saying that the best way to criticize a movie was to make another movie. In your work, were you thinking at all of the films as a critique of other films? Were you trying to express or show something that you felt you weren't seeing in other movies that you were seeing?
Somehow, yes. First of all, I was in the elementary school when I went to the cinema. I saw only just bad stories, fake acting, bad colors. It was so ugly. And life, it's not like this. And in my films, I'm not knocking on the door. I kick the door. I just wanted to punching you. I just wanted to beat you, shake you, move you. When I was young, I had a chance to see Abu the Souffle by Godard, some Yancho movies, and Soviet movies like Tsigavertov. Later, I saw Andrei Yugev by Tarkovsky, and I liked it very much. But I never wanted to be a filmmaker. I was 15 when I got an 8mm camera from my father for my birthday. And this time, I was a very strong leftist guy. It is a strange situation when you are living in a country which is called communist, but they never been communist. It's a feudalistic shit. And for me, the camera was a tool to changing the world. I made a movie, which it was 25 minutes long, about a gypsy worker group. And you can see how they live, how they are working. It was very simple. They said they need permission to leave from the country. They want to go to Austria. And of course, the Communist Party did not accept. Accidentally, I met with some other young filmmakers, and I did my first movie when I was 22. 16mm handheld camera, black and white, non-professional actors, no script, do a lot of improvisation.
Nem érdekel, apuka, hogy maga mit mond, mit nem. Én leültem ide, hogy kérjek kölcsön pénzt, hogy el tudjunk menni. Ha nem hisz nekem, nagyon sajnálom.
Én bőrömön pedig nem fogsz elmenni innen lakni. Az én pénzemet, a te pénzeden menj el lakni.
And that movie, Family Nest, has a lot of concerns about the condition of working class people in Hungary, the bureaucratic red tape that they encounter.
Tehát hárman költöznének, szobakonyhás lakásban laknak, komfort nélküli a lakás, ugye?
Igen.
Hát kérem szépen, ebben az évben nem tudunk önöknek semmilyen lakást adni. A pontszámok alapján valószínűleg jövőre sem. Elképzelhető, hogy 79-80-ban.
Were you drawing directly on things you had experienced yourself?
Yes. For example, when I became 18, I wanted to go to the university, and they told me very clearly, you never ever will be a student in this country. So I worked for the ship factory, taking 20 kilograms heavy irons. It was a very hard time for me, and by the end, my back was fucked up, and I cannot do it any longer. Somehow, yes, I was mixing in different fragments and elements from my life. By the end, it wasn't very sociographical. It became a family drama. But the main issue is to show the quality of the family life and how they are humiliated.
And is that one of the reasons that you cast non-professional actors.
I did it to show the white side of life and discovering the people.
There's a credit at the beginning of the movie that it's presented by the Béla Tarr Film Studio. Is that the group of other young filmmakers that you had met?
It was a bunch of Hungarian young filmmakers did not have any chance. The government said, okay, you can do what you want, but you cannot present it.
Was the film shown in Hungary at the time?
No, 2 years later. But somehow I was lucky, and the film won at the Mannheim Film Festival. And afterwards, when I went back to Hungary, they could not do anything with me because I became well known. Somehow I was free. When you made your first movie, it's easy because you don't look left or right. After the first movie, you got new questions. And film by film, you are just developing your film language. This is your job. Plus, I respect the audience. The audience is full of intelligent, adult, and clever people. I have to give my best. And of course, my best was different in my first movie than the second and the third. In the beginning, I was just thinking about social problems. And then afterwards came some ontological problems. Later, we just see the shit is cosmical, thinking about the whole world, global. This brand, which is called Béla Tarr, now is including 4 people: Agnes Hranitsky, Mihai Vig, the composer, László Krasznahorkai, the writer, and me.
You first collaborated with László Krasznahorkai on your film Damnation. Can you talk about how that collaboration started?
I was reading the manuscript of the Sátán Tango, the first novel of László. This was a very deep novel, and I was thinking I really would like to meet with him because I like very much his style, how he's using the words. We met and we decided to make Sátán Tango. But the government did not allow me to do it. So we started to work on Damnation, which was a very old idea about a woman who is singing in a bar. And almost 10 years later, we could start Sátán Tango.
Did you know from the beginning that Sátán Tango would be a film of unusual length for a feature film?
We estimated 6 hours. By the end, it became 7 hours and 15 minutes, a little bit longer.
The sense of time and of living in a space with the characters of the film is something that's present from really very early in your work, even if it's expressed somewhat differently. There are typically very long takes and very long scenes. Werkmeister is 39 shots in 2.5 hours. A lot of them involve very elaborately choreographed movement of the camera and the actors. I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about the use of time in your movies.
Yes, I have my own manias because long monologues and to see a face as a kind of landscape, it was in the first and then till the last. Most films ignore time because the logic of the films is action, cut, action, cut, action, cut. They are following the linear storytelling. I never interested about this. Let's say a piece of wall can be a story because you have to understand how you can involve the time, movement, the space, the landscape. They are very important for me. Godard said a real filmmaker edits in the camera. And of course, he forgot, and he was using a lot of cut by the end. But I took seriously. When I was young, usually one take is one scene, and you cannot do anything with this long take on the editing table. It means Agnes was all the time in the set, and she was watching on the monitor. She was checking we are on the right rhythm. And plus, for me, it was all the time interesting when the camera is rolling, the tension between the two persons, it's building up. And if you are moving, the space is showing all the time different faces, or we can see the same thing from different angles. And sometimes I do not stop the scene, even if the scene it was done, because I'm curious how you will react if the camera is still rolling.
Akkor vele fogok vacsorázni. Úgy este felé.
You cannot escape from the situation. You can discover a lot of small details, and you will reach the human being, the human life. That's why we did not write a script. We never talk about the film. We are just talking about the life. What we see, how we feel. This is how we work. The situation has to be human and simple.
Elkéstél, Jánoskám. Haza akarunk menni.
We had a script written for the banks, for the foundations, and for the financing, but we never use it. Normally, I have some small cards in my pocket, and one card is one word or one sentence, and this is my script. Because if you have proper casting, and they are just being, not playing, half of your job is done. This is a dirty job because I'm haunting their emotions and I'm stealing their personalities, and I show on the screen you have to respect their dignity and you have to treat them as real partners. If I have a good casting, if they have strong personality, I can trust them.
Well, that begs the question in the specific case of Werkmeister about the casting of Lars Rudolph. You said that you didn't think you could make a film from Krasznahorkai's novel, The Melancholy of Resistance, until you discovered Lars Rudolph. What was it about him specifically that made the entire film come together in your mind?
His personality, it was similar to the character. I did not direct him. I just told him, this is the situation, and we will come from here to there. He will react like how he is reacting.
Itt egyelőre még csak az általános mozgást észleljük. És eleinte észre sem vesszük, milyen rendkívüli események szemtanúi vagyunk.
Of course, normally we don't have script, but at the beginning, the dialogue was very important. He was doing some improvisation during the take, but I was pushing him to follow the logic, because this is an important issue that the viewers has to understand. And of course, the choreography was also important.
A hold forgó mozgást végez a föld körül.
That scene is, in a way, a dance number with Lars choreographing the denizens of this bar to replicate the movements of the planets around the sun. Do you typically start thinking about the space and the camera and then bring the actors in? Are they there from the beginning and you're choreographing everything all together?
The main issue is spontaneity. If I'm rehearsing with them too much, it doesn't work. It's contradiction because the camera movements are very complicated. We have to tell the actors the basic movements because they have to be in the same rhythm. But you feel it when the camera is rolling, when everybody is together, including actors, the crew, and me too. We are breathing in the same rhythm. It really looks like best sex. This is the reason why you do.
Related to this idea of people being in rhythm and unison, I also wanted to talk about your composer, Mihai Vig, because this is another shift that happens as we move into the Tarr, Krasnohorkai, Vig era, is that original score becomes a very strong element in the films, whereas when we look at the early films with the more neorealist style, we either don't have music or we have a song on the radio or something similar.
The music is also one of the main characters. It's strongly there. It was 1983 when I started to work with Mihai Vig, and I asked him, go to the studio before the shooting. I need to know the music because it's influencing the way of the shooting and the rhythm.
Would you ever play the music on the set?
Yeah, we did it several times because it helps with the dolly movements.
There is, in my mind, and I don't know if you see it the same way, a sense when we're watching Werkmeister harmonies that initially we could be in almost any time or place.
I hope so, because when you are thinking about some eternal things, in this case, you have to ignore the concrete. And that's why I don't show fashion or cars, because the cars were different in the 60s, 70s, 80s, all the time because of capitalism. New. They are pushing the writers in the film industry to create new stories. Since the Old Testament, every story is same. It's there, everything. Look how it's starting. A brother killed the other. You can see there is mother killing. You can see there is the Holocaust. You can see everything.
A giant whale.
For example.
Azt is állítják, hogy ez az egész csak ürügy, érted? Hogyha leszáll az éjszaka, a végés lakosokra lecsapjanak.
Werkmeister is a movie that, to use the language of today, we could say is on some level about fake news. It deals with the way in which rumor and innuendo can whip ordinary people into a panic and fear and begin to fray at the fabric of order.
When we made this movie, we were just thinking this is a nice fairy tale and it's never will be real. But now, if you just switch off the news, you can see, unfortunately, it became real.
You retired from making feature films after The Turin Horse, though you've continued to work in film, teaching, making shorts, making a site-specific cinema project in Vienna. Can you talk a little bit about the decision to close the feature film chapter of your career, but how you have continued to work in cinema.
Step by step, you are building up a language. But this language, it's based on what you want to say. The language and, let's say, message are hand by hand. And I had a feeling after the Turing Horse, what can I say to you more? Yes, this was a very nice chapter in my life, but the life is not finished, and I'm going ahead in a different way.